Today we're going to disassemble and clean the magazine for a Smith & Wesson M&P 9, and we're going to demonstrate this on a 17 round magazine. So anytime you clean your gun, it's a good idea to clean your magazine. You don't necessarily have to disassemble it unless you've dropped your magazine in some dirt or gravel out on the range, or if you think there's something might be wrong with it, you want to take it apart and make sure there's no foreign material in there and nothing that's going to keep it from functioning properly. Before we get started, you're going to need some eye protection. There are some springs inside the magazine and they can pop out and hit you in the face. All we need to do to open up the magazine is get a pin punch to push this button down. We're going to hold the magazine like this. We're going to press on this pin, and at the same time we're going to push this base plate in this direction. So it just looks like this. Alright, and then hold your thumb over top here because that's where the spring is. Pull the base plate off and set it aside. And now gently allow the spring to come out. Now you have a little bottom plate here that sits on the spring. It's actually connected to the spring. You can take that off if you want and set that aside. And then just pull the spring out like that, and it's going to pull the follower. This piece here is the follower that pushes the rounds up to the top of the magazine. If you look here, the follower is also connected to the spring. You can pull that out if you want, but you don't need to in order to clean it pretty well. Alright, so now we just want to clean each piece of the magazine and then put it back together. So we're just going to take a cotton cloth and wipe each piece down and get all the dirt off of here. If you have dirt that just won't come off, you can get a little bit of Hops No. 9 solvent or something like that and use that to clean pieces up. This magazine was definitely due for a cleaning, so we're going to get that all squared away here. I'm just going to get a pipe cleaner and clean that little hole there. Alright, this piece is all cleaned up. Next we're just going to take the spring and we're just going to kind of work the spring through the cloth so that we get the whole spring cleaned all the way up. Make sure you do this for all the magazines that you have. Now we're just going to wipe down this follower here. This follower is pretty dirty, so I'm just going to get a little bit of solvent on here, loosen up some of this dirt, and just make sure you wipe all the solvent and dirt off of the follower. Alright, and now we have the follower all cleaned up and the spring. And lastly, we want to clean the magazine tube. Get all that little bit of sediment out of there. You can just get a rag and put finger in there, get a gun brush and kind of use the gun brush to get that rag in there, clean it up, or you can just brush the inside. Just want to get all the crud out of there. Alright, the inside's pretty clean, and then just wipe down the outside. You can use a little bit of solvent if needed. I'm just going to put a tiny bit of solvent on the outside here. I'm going to get this thing absolutely perfect here. Wipe the solvent off with a clean cloth. Alright, I still see a little dirt on the inside toward the top here. Going to get a little solvent and just clean that all up. Find a wipe down here. Alright, now that we got all the pieces clean, we're just going to reassemble it, which is just the opposite of the disassembly. Alright, so the follower goes in like this. Alright, you see the bottom angle here, and the spring is at a little bit of an angle. So we're going to push the follower in, and the follower is going to sit at the top of the magazine just like this. And you'll see this notch is going to go in the front. This is the back of the magazine. That little notch is going to go in the front. Alright, so you're going to have your spring sitting back like that. And then this piece, the end of the spring, is going to thread into that base plate piece, and it's going to end up sitting like this. Set the magazine on the table so you can press this plate. You want to be able to press the plate a little bit down into the magazine like this. I have it down in a little ways, just far enough so I can put the base plate on, and the base plate has notches that are going to line up with these ridges right here. So slide it on about halfway and get your finger out of there. Alright, so it should look like this. Make sure it's lined up and then push it all the way on, and the button should pop back up into place. And as long as that worked, see if you can pull the base plate off. If you can't, you should be in good shape. Alright, and now you have your magazine reassembled. Press down here to make sure the spring is pushing back up on you. Alright, and this next part is completely optional. You can always take it to the range to test it. I like to have some 9mm dummy rounds or snap caps laying around. I'll put a link in the description if you want to pick some of these up. These are great for testing things after you've taken things apart. So these are just fake ammunition, just for testing purposes. you can just feed them into the magazine to make sure that it's going to work right. And it looks like it's working right. You can take your unloaded firearm, make sure there's no real ammunition in the gun or in the area, and then put your magazine with dummy rounds in it and load a round. And then you can just kind of wrap the slide to make sure that your magazine is feeding the rounds properly. Alright, hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please hit like below. Please check out the description for dummy rounds and other information about your firearm. And thank you for watching.